Hi, this is Jim. I'm going to give you a little overview of this Lenz LS150. I'm going to talk you through kind of the wiring and the setup of using this Lenz to control Kato switches. Also talk a little bit about the Sprog III command and control and the JRMI software. So I'm just going to kind of run through all the pieces to make an electric switch work with your PC. You can see I've got my PC set up here. I'm running JRMI software, which is free software you can download off of the web. It basically, you can see I've got my track layout behind here that I've got quite a bit actually to add on because I've made the layout bigger. So I'm going to be adding some additional track coming off of this L down a long run that I have now, and a couple more switches to it as well. But the idea behind this is everything on here I can run and operate the switches graphically. Pretty neat deal. But what I'm going to focus on today is just showing this LS150 switch. I have two of these already. This is my third one right here, and I had two of them for my HO set. I ended up deciding that I would just reuse them again for this N-scale setup I had. The only problem with these is for Kato switches, they work more like a motorized point drive than a double coil point drive, which the easiest way to put that is the Kato has two wires coming off of it, whereas a Pico switch would have three wires coming off of it, and they operate differently. So in order to overcome that, as you can tell, I'm not an electrical person, there's a little modification you have to do to these Lenz switches. It's no big deal. There's two diodes that have to be put on. I'm trying to catch up with my camera right now. One for the positive, one for the negative. These little diodes, really, if you don't know anything about electronics, they act a little bit like valves, and they only allow the power to flow one direction. So the instructions that come with this Lenz did I get it right? Lenz 150 is, it basically gives you the detailed instructions on how to do it. But the reason I like this switch is, one, it's been reliable for me. Two, I'll show you this invoice. They're $62 and it'll do 6 switches. So that's a pretty good price. It's about $10 a switch. And it's a nice little unit, very compact, and screw it on underneath your table and then drop all the wires to it. The diodes that you need to buy are pretty standard. They even tell you in the instruction manual the exact ones to get. The part number is IN 4001. IN 4001, as you can see right there. And Radio Shack has them, but they charge you an arm and a leg for them. You can see here I got this, where did I get this at? Litchfield Station, which is a website. I don't work for them, and I just happened to buy it from them. But they basically sell these things, and I bought, I think, 14. They only need 12, and they were only 15 cents a piece. So it cost me a whopping, you know what, I think they were like $2.10 for all of them. So just to give you an idea of the price, because I think when you go to Radio Shack, they'll charge you a whole bunch for these things. Like I said, I'm not an electrical guy, but I did figure it out just looking at the instructions, and really all you got to do is hook 2 of them up, and you don't really need to solder them. If you don't know how to solder, you just screw those 2 into here and here. You basically could just take a copper wire and wrap it around the ends of these 2 guys, and you'd be good to go. I do them like this, so I have these little green wires coming off, and so when I'm under the table, this is what I'm going to hook the wire to, make it easy to hook to while I'm under the table. You can do it any way you want. Here's an example of one hooked up. They basically have the common black wire in the center, and that goes over here to this switch, and then you've got the common, then you got the green wire that goes to this little diode thing that I set up to the red wire of the switch. So very straightforward. I got this Kato switch here. Let me talk a little bit about the inputs. Input number 1 is just AC power. So I have 2 main lines that run underneath my train set. One of them just carries AC power on it to light my houses and provide power other than to run the trains. And then my other power supply for the switch for my trains is this Sprog III, which I bought about a month or so ago. This thing is really, really impressive. I love this thing. It's inexpensive. I think all in it was about $135. It ran, for me, it's running 4 in-scale locomotives, no problem, with free software, and it does all kinds of neat stuff. I'm still learning quite a bit about it. So as you can see, those 2 wires go to the switch, and they basically are just sending the signal for the switch to be thrown one way or the other, right? So these 2 wires are the same 2 wires that would light up your track and run your trains and operate everything. And the power to throw the switch is coming on these 2 wires off of this little AC unit. So underneath my table, trying to explain this, I hope I'm doing a decent job. There's 2 main wires underneath my table. There's a black and red that runs underneath my table that supplies power to everywhere for the track. And there's a black and red wire that runs underneath my table that is hooked to one of these old transformers with AC power. And I tap into those black and reds for anywhere I have a power need. So that was kind of long-winded, but I hope you got it. So you got, once again, power to operate the switch to throw it. And then you got the signal coming in from my Sprog III, or it could be, you know, your Digitrax or whatever you're using, your Command Station, to tell it what to do. Nice, like I said, I like this device, works great for me. So I'm just going to show it working real quick. Over here I just have this set up. Hope you can see that. I'll do a quick throw right here on, I set it to 19. You can see I've programmed, believe it or not, I have 13 switches already hooked up, and I'm hooking up more. So I have this wired on to number 19, and if I come over here and I just do the throw and the close, which I don't think you need to see me hitting the button, you get the idea, but I'll just hit it real quick and you'll see it throw. Beautiful sound, right? Closed, open. So it works nice and neat. What I'll end up doing in my JRMI software is this switch will just be like these others you see. Let me get out of edit mode. It'll be less garbagey. There you go. So when you look at it this way, these are all working today. I can click these little circles and it'll visually throw the switches, and electrically it goes to this thing and throws the switch. So pretty neat. As you can see by my diagram, I'm also running the Katos where they have the 4 switches in one. They work beautifully, no problem at all. I can click on this thing and it'll throw all 4 with one address. So very nice. So I think that's about it. I just wanted to do a quick thing on this LS150. You know, the only thing you have to buy that's not in the box are these diodes, and I gave you the part number for them. And don't let that intimidate you if you're not an electrical person. They even have a drawing in the instructions. The Lenz instructions, by the way, are very good by train standards. They even show you right here, here's how to do it. If you got a motorized switch, and on the next page they even go into the detail of, you know, what the diagram means and which way the diode needs to go, and they'll even in this instruction give you that part number that I mentioned earlier. So very thorough instructions. Just follow it exactly how they say to do it and everything will work fine for you. And like I said, I soldered these on just because I can. But I was thinking about, if you didn't know how to solder, you just strip off a piece of wire and wrap it around the ends of these real tight, and you should end up with a good connection. And you could string out the same thing I made without soldering, if you don't like to solder or don't know how to. Works great. I'm operating, you know, like I said, I got 13 switches running right now. They work awesome. And I'm going to do some other videos probably on this Sprog III as I go. Just to answer a few people's questions. This thing, working with this software I've got right here, does everything. I used to have an MRC controller. I loved it. It was a great controller. The thing I like about the Sprog III, one, the price can't be beat. It operates multiple, you know, like I said, it had 4 in-scale trains going and with passenger lights, and it had no troubles at all. So it's really been a good thing. And I like the graphical display. I don't have to remember the switch numbers. Once I get this thing built, I bring this up and just run it. You can also see, let me see if I can hold the camera and move the screen at the same time without a mouse. Just a touchpad. I have all my throttles set up for all my trains, 1, 2, like 6 or 7 trains. So you can get the screen all set up that when you open it up, you can basically, operate all your trains right from here. I'm going to also show later how to do it with some touch screens and an iPad. I've got a bunch of other stuff I'm playing with this. Still learning, like I said. I'm by no means an expert on the Panel Pro stuff, but I have been able to get it, configured. It took a little while, a little learning curve to get the hang of it, and a little, trial and error. But if you can get around on a computer, you'll probably really enjoy it. And that's probably the one thing I would say to somebody considering this Sprog III. If you're not good with a computer, then it might be difficult for you. You don't have to be an expert, but you do have to kind of be able to read and figure out how to use it, and it takes a while for it to all make sense. So you just have to be patient with it. But, within the span of a few days, I kind of had everything kind of starting to work. So that's it for now. Pretty neat deal. I'm looking forward to putting this thing underneath the table, and it will operate another 6 switches for me. So I'm pretty happy about that, and that's it for today. Thanks.